Hi guys, it's Lana here. Welcome back to Lana's Summertime. On this channel, I give you my best tips to help you get your best curls and your best life. If that sounds like something you're interested in, then subscribe to my channel and turn your notifications. Also get me on Instagram for the blessings and the breakdowns, and let's get into it. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about something that has come to light recently. That's right, I don't have curly hair. I lied to you guys. I lied to myself. I'm kidding. So let's just start at the beginning, shall we? So I recently filmed a video about TikTok hairstyles. So in order to make that video, I had to have a look at the curly hair hashtag on TikTok. I discovered this one sound clip that was apparently really popular. Loads of people were recreating it, and it was essentially this one girl who sounded kind of angry, telling them that if their hair is not curly while wet, then they don't have curly hair. So I just kind of wanted to respond to that because I'm someone who has posted so many of my curly hair routines, my wash routines, and I often receive comments from people saying like, how do you get your hair to be so flat when it's wet? Like, why is your hair straight when it's wet? How come your hair isn't curly when it's wet? I was thinking like, hang on, my hair isn't exactly like curly when it's wet. So I was just thinking like, this sound clip isn't correct. Like, my hair is not curly while it's wet, but it's curly when it's dry. So I just showed that. Like, I just showed a little clip where I was just like, this is what my hair looks like when it's wet. This is what it looks like when it dries.
Okay, let me rephrase because all the wavy-headed girls in my comments are offended. If your hair is not curly while wet, you not have curly hair.
And like, my reason for making that was literally just to demonstrate that that doesn't apply to me. As somebody who has spent so much of my life like helping people with their curly hair, quite often people get confused because they don't know how to categorize their hair. Like, a lot of people don't realize their hair is curly, so they don't use the right products. So if you're gonna jump online and tell people that they don't have curly hair, then where does that leave them? Because like, they kind of do. Like, they do have curly hair and they should be using products for curly hair. And if you're telling them they don't have curly hair, then they're not gonna use them and they're not gonna reach their full potential. Long story short, that's why I made that video. However, then there were responses, and the responses to my video can pretty much be sorted into two categories. So there were the first bunch who were kind of saying, but you put products on your hair, you brushed your hair, and that's why it wasn't curly. So you just proved her right because your hair is curly when it's wet, so that's why it's curly when it's dry. She's talking about people whose hair isn't curly when it's wet. People were literally telling me, yeah, okay, go and dunk your hair in some water and then see what happens. It's gonna be curly. And I was like, do you think I've never jumped in a pool? I've never jumped in a lake? All my years on this earth, you think I've never just like wet my hair and not put products on it? Like, you think I don't know my hair type? Like, I know that my hair gets weighed down in water and it just becomes wavy in water. Like, I know that that happens to my hair. Like, at least they admitted that my hair was curly in the final result. The other bunch of responses were like, your hair's wavy. Your hair isn't curly. The reason your hair was straight when it's wet is because it's not curly when it's dry. They were like, you didn't show us any spirals. Your hair is wavy. Your hair is 2C. Like, I'm showing you my curly hair and you're saying, no, it's not. It's not curly. And like, granted, my hair didn't look the most defined in that video, so I don't want this video to turn into, is her hair curly or not? Like, that's not what the point of this video is. The point of this video is to shed light on the issues that I think are playing into this. I think it has to do with the natural hair movement, gatekeeping, and horizontal hostility. So we have the natural hair community, the natural hair movement. I am somebody who did go on a natural hair journey. I grew up in a predominantly white area. I didn't have any black friends. I had no black family. I actually was growing up before the days of like YouTube and stuff like that. So I had no access really to know what to do with my hair. And I had no role models in my life that were showing me about natural hair. Curly hair was really like degraded. People would always tell me that my hair was like frizzy or poofy, and people were constantly telling me to straighten my hair or just do something with it. In fact, like, we used to have this day in school. It was like the crazy hair day. All that I did on crazy hair day was just let my hair out. That was it. Like, other kids were like putting colors in their hair and stuff. I was literally like, let me just put my hair out. Crazy hair day. And everyone was like, wow, so crazy. You know, that's the kind of environment that I was growing up in. I straightened my hair and I had relaxer in my hair through pretty much most of my teens, and it ruined my hair. It made it crispy wispy and dry and broken and disheveled. But I kept doing it because I didn't know what else to do with my hair. But then I fully had an awakening. I was like, no, let me start embracing my hair. I started to see role models that had my hair type, mostly online actually. Like my first inspiration was actually Andrea's Choice. In my opinion, one of the OG curly hair YouTubers and somebody that I always look up to. I remember the day that she followed me back on Instagram and I was like, over the moon. So then I had to go on a journey. I had to start from the bottom. I had to teach myself everything about my hair. I had to identify what my hair was. So when I'm talking about my curl pattern, I go off of that chart that's like 1A to 4C. And I pretty much identified myself in 3B, which is curly according to that chart. So there is some controversy with that chart. Not everybody agrees with it, but I'd say that with the curly hair community and the natural hair community, it's very well known and it's very widely accepted that that is the best categorization for curls. I mean, I feel like pretty much everyone in this community can say, I'm a 3A, I'm a 4C, I'm a 4A. Like, you don't always get it correct, but people know what you're talking about. Like, that's the chart. So the 1s are straight hair, 2s are wavy, 3s are curly, and 4s are coily. That's what the chart says. I continued to study it. I learned so much about curls and I've shared so much about curls with you guys. Most of you are really thankful for it because I know that there are people who have had the same experience as me and the same journey as me. If you're like me and you grew up mixed, there's a huge chance that you don't have somebody in your family with the same hair type as you. And because you don't have somebody in your family with the same hair type as you, it's very likely that you will resort to straighteners, relaxers, chemical processing, and you might not ever get to experience your natural hair until you go on a natural hair journey and you start looking at videos like mine and other people in the community to help you out. That's based on my experiences. That's based on my feedback that I get from you guys. I know that even people with my hair type, it's very, very likely that you had to turn to your natural hair. Like, you weren't there, but you had to get there. However, I'm also very aware of the natural hair movement from the perspective of somebody who has coily hair, so 4A, 4B, 4C and beyond. And I'm also very aware of the point of view that the natural hair community has been taken over by like 3C, like people in the 3 category, light-skinned girls, mixed people and all of that. Like, I feel like I'm speaking from a place of privilege whenever I speak about this, so I feel like it's the case when anyone with privilege is talking to somebody who doesn't have it. Like, I just have to like sit back and listen. So I'm gonna sit back and listen to what this is. Like, I feel like I definitely agree with the whole idea that mixed people, light-skinned people, people with a curl type that falls into a 3 category, I definitely feel like there's been more exposure of that. We just see a lot more representation. Like, I feel like a lot of black characters in TV and film tend to be more light-skinned and have a looser curl type. So I'm not gonna argue against that. That's completely true. However, I do just want to kind of defend my position because I know that there are some voices out there who have said actually completely untrue things. I was actually watching a video the other day that was speaking exactly about this issue. She was saying that if you are like me, basically, like if you're mixed or if you're light skinned or if you have curly hair, then you've never had to go natural.
3A hair should not be the face of natural hair. That should not represent natural hair. I mean, because just think about it. When were biracials, most of them with 3A hair, or usually any woman with that grade of hair, when were they ever not natural? Think about it. They don't usually go natural. Us nappy-headed women go natural, right? It's called going natural for a reason, because most kinky hair 4C women, we actually went through the big chop, right? The BC. We actually grew the perm out, then cut the ends. We actually went through all the awkward phases of natural hair, the learning curve, because we're so new to the experience of having our hands in our own hair, right? The feeling of nakedness a lot of us experience after taking the weave out, right? We go through having to adapt to hating our hair and then, all of a sudden falling in love with it and learning to manage it and make it look good, right? Most quote unquote good hair women, they don't go through that, right? Black women with black kinky hair are the ones who go natural. So why aren't we the face of natural hair? Okay. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, granted, I do see people like Whitney or Naptural85. For those of you who don't know who she is, she's here on YouTube. But I see her doing big things. She's in commercials with Shea Moisture. And, I'm happy and I'm proud of her. And she has type 4 hair. But, in our spaces, we have to get better at promoting the essence of natural hair.
I don't like the idea of people speaking on my experience or making assumptions about me without knowing me. I think on that point, that's just untrue. And I would just like implore people to not make assumptions about somebody's experience, period. Like just don't. That whole video, the video that I'm talking about, was essentially saying that somebody like me shouldn't be part of the natural hair movement and shouldn't be part of the natural hair community because I never had to go natural and the term doesn't fit me very well.
You know, when really type 4 should be the only natural hair anyway, but at least those women are trying to do something about the lack of representation because, you know, it's been said before, but, you know, 3A is like the new perm, right? And to me, it's crazy because they shouldn't even be there. You know, they shouldn't be there when you think about it.
You should avoid them. Hello? Okay, so I had to stop because I was talking to Dyson. If you guys see my Dyson video, then that might all make sense to you. But yeah, I was speaking to Dyson on the phone. Everything's sorted. Don't need to worry about that. It's just if you're gonna make assumptions about me and my life, that's where I feel like I have to kind of draw a line because like, there's also things that you can say about me that I'll accept. Like you can say about me that I've had it easier. You can say about me that my struggle isn't as hard, and I'm going to accept that because I can't even pretend to imagine what the struggle is like for somebody who has a kinkier hair type, who is darker, and who is struggling to get that kind of representation. Like I'm fully going to accept that, and I can see how that has been happening in practice. What I'm going to do is listen and try to understand, and I would just hope that you can do the same for me. With all of that being said, I have still found myself kind of retreating away from the natural hair community, and partly because I am just trying to give that natural hair movement space that it deserves and like room to breathe. And if you've noticed, I tend to use curly hair hashtags, curls pop in, like I use all of those hashtags, and I very rarely move to natural hair journey, natural hair movement, natural hair community, because I don't want to be seen to be kind of trying to take over that space or anything like that, even though that's kind of how I started my journey and that's what I thought I was involved in. I'm sticking to curls and curly hair because that's factual. Like I feel like that's not anything that anyone can really deny. So to get this then response from people saying your hair is not curly was really baffling to me and really strange. I feel like it takes a lot away from me to say I don't have curly hair. Like I feel like so much of my identity is like I'm mixed and proud, I've got curly hair and I'm proud. Like to just kind of like take that away, like I feel like it's almost like you're not who you say you are to say that you don't have curly hair. So that was really baffling to me and I wanted to look deeper into it. So then that brought me again onto the issue of gatekeeping in the natural hair community. I suppose it's one thing to say whether or not you belong in the natural hair community or whether curly haired girls or looser curl pattern people, do they belong in this movement that was started by people with kinkier textures like 4A, 4B, 4C, like do they belong in it? But it's like a whole nother thing entirely to just say that I don't even have curly hair. Like that's taking it up a notch, like that's like another level. And I was definitely reminded of something that I was talking about in one of my previous videos. I'll link it up there if you're interested. This is my story of growing up mixed. Like literally, if you're not mixed, if you're not biracial, if you're not multiracial, I feel like it's not something that you're really gonna understand, especially not from my perspective. Like I grew up in the UK. Key part of my experience growing up was dealing with horizontal hostility. Horizontal hostility is the hostility that people experience within the same marginalized group in society. The way that that looked like in real life, like in school, was just being completely rejected and shunned by all of the black people in school. And then online, it's people calling me stuff like a half-breed, a mongrel, just saying that they don't need me in this community and stuff like that. So, and you know, it's kind of hurtful to be called a mongrel. No, obviously nobody wants to be called a mongrel and nobody wants to be called a half-breed because, you know, I'm not a dog. Yeah, and just being called half of anything is just quite disrespectful. Like I'm not a half, I'm a whole lot of this and I'm a whole lot of that. I'm not half anything. I feel like that is definitely something that plays into this kind of gatekeeping in the natural hair community. There's another video by a girl that I watched and she just made a good point. It was a very simple point. Like, we are all black. We're all black. Like, why is there a need for divisiveness? Like, can we not just all support each other? Like, that would just be amazing if we could just drop the divisiveness and just everybody support each other and see everybody win. I almost feel like I see this same kind of arguments happening everywhere across the board when it comes to blackness and who deserves what and who doesn't deserve it. I've even seen people talking about Like when we talk about black-owned businesses, people saying that mixed people shouldn't promote their business as a black-owned business. Like if you just want to look at history and look at the facts, like in the eyes of history, in the eyes of the law, if you are mixed, you're black. It's the same. So yes, promote your black-owned business, because as a mixed person, historically, you have had the same limitations as somebody who wasn't mixed. I mean, I don't even know if I'm going to include that in the video. I feel like this could go one way or another. Like, to go as far as to say that my hair is not even curly, I feel like that's a reach, honestly. Like, that's honestly a reach. However, I'm not done there, because there is something in this. Like, I feel like there is something in what people were saying, and going all the way back to the original TikTok video that I reacted to, there is something in what she said. So on TikTok, and I think online, there's kind of been a rise of people, usually white people, kind of realizing that the hair is curly for the first time. Like, they kind of do the curly hair routine, or they scrunch, they kind of do this routine and they realize that there's actually some curls there, and then they realize, oh, okay, I didn't know this, my hair was curly, and now they're a curly girl. And I've had friends who just had permanently frizzy hair because it never crossed their minds that their hair was naturally curly. They just followed what their parents did. Their parents told them brush your hair, so they would brush their hair and they would have frizzy hair. They would try to straighten it and it would go frizzy. Like, it was not hair that wanted to be straight. And it turns out they had naturally curly hair, they just didn't know it. And I've seen them start to embrace their natural hair, and it's great, it's amazing, I support them. Admittedly, it doesn't look like my curly hair, but there's curls there. Maybe it's 3A, maybe it's bordering 2C to 3A, maybe it's very, very loose curls. And here's the thing that I think we all need to remember, is that Eurocentric beauty standards don't only affect us. Those Eurocentric standards have targeted black people the hardest, and that's true. However, a white person growing up in the Western world is also affected by those standards. As individuals, they're not individually to blame for this standard, and I feel like it's not fair to just tell them they can't be in the movement. You can't have curly hair. Like, you're not allowed to have curly hair because you weren't affected. Like, I feel like that's just not fair. I don't even know if I'm explaining this right. I feel like regardless of your color, if you are learning for the first time that you've got curly hair, then that's it. You're learning for the first time that you've got curly hair. Period. That's it. That means that you are now going to have to start looking at routines, you're going to have to start looking at products, you're going to have to start looking at the tools that you use, and you're going to have to go on this whole journey. Albeit, maybe don't call it a natural hair journey, because it's true that that space is over here. However, I'm not going to tell them they don't have curly hair if they do. I've literally seen people saying if you're white you can't have curly hair, and that's just I'm starting to get lost with how this is connected back to me, but I think this is what some people were trying to say when they were trying to say that I don't have curly hair. Like, I'm going to accept you and your curliness. You're very welcome to your curliness. However, that brings me back to my very first point about the TikTok video. Obviously, the looser your curl pattern is, the straighter it's going to look when it's wet. So of course there's going to be some people whose hair looks straight when it's wet, and maybe that's why they never realized it was curly, and then when it dries it's curly. I don't know why people would try to reject that whole idea. However, once again, I will admit that there are some people who are on this hashtag who have said that they've discovered their curly hair, they're using hashtag curly hair, and in my opinion their hair's not curly. I feel like they need to check the chart once again, and a lot of the time I find that their hair is actually within a 2, which officially makes it, according to the chart, it officially makes it wavy, not curly. So that's my only issue with this new wave of people discovering their hair for the first time. I feel like just check the chart. Like, just because your hair's not dead straight doesn't mean it's curly. There is an in-between and it's wavy. So this will apply to you when you're looking for products, when you're looking for tools, when you're looking for routines. If you are looking for stuff for wavy hair and your hair is wavy, then that's going to work out so much better for you. Because if you're trying to look for stuff for curly hair and your hair's actually wavy, then that's not going to be the best result for you. So yeah, I guess that kind of concludes this video, and I've got no idea if this video even makes sense, but I felt like I just had to go on a little bit of a rant and just kind of tell you guys where I'm, like, my perspective on this whole thing. Before I've even edited this video, I know that it's going to be really long and might not make any sense. Probably, I don't know. Anyway, however, if you guys enjoyed this video and you want to hear more discussions like this, then let me know in the comment section. Also, like this video if you liked it. Of course, feel free to dislike this video if you disliked it, because all feedback is good feedback in my opinion. Subscribe to my channel, turn on your notifications, get me on Instagram for all of the blessings and the breakdowns, because I put it all on there, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.